Oh boy, the county fair's almost here.
The what?
Oh, come on, Admiral, but you can't be that out of the loop. The county fair.
Oh, yes, of course. I don't know what that is, Cotton.
You know, a large gathering of hunters with events and games and fun.
Oh, events and games and fun? Like what?
Well, we've got Pin the Tail on the Furious Rajang.
I really hope he doesn't mind us doing that.
And there's also Bobbing for Vespoids.
I don't know about that one.
And my personal favorite, Hunter Arts and Crafts.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages,
We live in a world of significant technological advancement, both outside our windows and inside of our television screens. Our video game technology has come so far in the last few years, to the point where we've had such a great achievement by humanity as Monster Hunter World. But what could make it greater? Is the culprit perhaps actually a mechanic from another pre-existing Monster Hunter game? Maybe, but which one?
I don't know.
Well, today I'm here to talk to you about everyone's favorite fill up the bar and do a cool thing mechanic, Hunter Arts. For those of us here who haven't played Monster Hunter Generations or Generations Ultimate, Hunter Arts are a very cool and unique system. You get a certain number of them based on your hunting style from 1 to 3, and each Hunter Art has its own charge rate. As you fight the monster, the gauge will fill up, and then you can activate the ability, which range from anything from an on-demand animation canceling dodge to a big, meaty, angry singular hit to a short-term power-up on all of your attacks. They cover a lot of possibilities and add a lot of choice to the hunter's kit, though as you may expect, most hunters of the same weapon often wind up using the same Hunter Art.
So boring.
Though the same can be said about many of Monster Hunter's mechanics, as there will always be a large subset of the community that just uses the highest damage skills and highest damage Hunter Arts available, just because the human brain want kill thing fast. But these vary significantly in complexity from Hunter Art to Hunter Art. For example, Sword and Shield, which has oils in this game, by the way. You can only have one active at a time, but there are 4 different ones that each provide their own buff. One that gives you Mind's Eye, one that acts like Part Breaker, one that gives you stun damage on hit, and one that gives you 30% bonus affinity. The SNS then also has a Hunter Art called Chaos Oil, which when applied gives you the effect of having all 4 oils on at the same time. But then it also stacks with the base oils, so you can have all of those buffs plus an extra 30% affinity active at one time as a result of this Hunter Art, just this Hunter Art. That is massive for Sword and Shield gameplay, for quality of life, and just general enjoyment of existence with that weapon.
You're all oily.
This is an example of an awesome and fun Hunter Art. Hammer has the option to forego damage increase Hunter Arts and instead pick up what essentially functions as a taunt in the form of Provoke, which just makes monsters have a higher chance of attacking you than the other party members when it's active. Do I know why this was put on Hammer instead of Lance, or hell, even something with a parry? No, I don't. Do I like that it's an option? Hell yes! It's super weird and funky and unusual, and it barely gets any use in regular hunts, but by God, I will stand by supporting utility options until the end of time! And that's the part of this that gets interesting, to be honest with you, because in a number of ways, Hunter Arts are actually sort of already in Iceborne. Well, at least some of them are in some capacities, actually worked into the base moveset of their weapons. For example, Hammer's Big Bang combo is pretty much the Spinning Meteor Hunter Art, but as a combo finisher. And even more notable than that is Longsword, who was never really known for parrying a few years ago.
I don't believe you.
I know, something that is so intrinsic to the identity of Iceborne's Longsword, right? It came from Monster Hunter Generations, really, at least as far as applying it to Longsword itself. And sure, you could argue that the idea for Monster Hunter World Longsword's parry comes from Valor Longsword, the style, but personally I'd prefer to bring up the Hunter Art Critical Juncture, which is, well, honestly, it's basically the new Iceborne Longsword parry, the special sheath parry, but with less inputs. You activate the Hunter Art, get in a stance, and if a monster hits you in the next couple of seconds, you parry it for massive damage. If nothing happens, it ends and the bar empties. Not to mention Foresight Slash, which was in World before Iceborne, and hey, try and tell me that it isn't at least slightly inspired by this Hunter Art. And the cherry on top, Chargeblade had a Hunter Art called Ripper Shield. I feel like I don't even have to describe this one to make the comparison clear just based on its name, but you know that whole entire Savage Axe thing that we got for Chargeblade and Iceborne, where the axe attaches to the end of the sword and then it spins around like some sort of crazy saw of death? Its origins are pretty damn clear. Hunter Art.
What a twist, huh?
So when it comes down to it, when we ask the question, should Hunter Arts return, we have to be aware that in some aspects, Hunter Arts are already here, inspiring our new base movesets, or in some cases, just being entirely worked into them. Same animations and everything. Some may argue that this means Hunter Arts could never really exist in their own mechanical right in the new world, as some of them are just a part of weapons now. But I think if anything, it sort of means the opposite. I think that makes it a little bit more likely, because at minimum, I can totally see more Hunter Art-esque attacks being added to the base movesets of weapons to make them more complex and interesting, to give them more options along the way. But hell, who's to say that we don't get that full system back, with new arts balanced entirely around our new system? Do we even want it to come back? And what is the impact of the system as a whole, rather than just on the individual weapons? Well, personally, I find Hunter Arts, just as a system, to be a bit of a distraction from the main goal.
Dare you? How dare you?
In the terms of In Generations, the way it's implemented is a completely disconnected button. It isn't something that you work towards in a unique way based on your weapons, it's just do enough damage to fill bar, then press button to use bar and spend energy. I love Hunter Arts. I love a lot of the ideas behind the different Hunter Arts, but doing it the way that it was done in the past was very jarring and disconnecting from normal combat in Monster Hunter, almost feeling like more of an MMO cooldown activation than an action RPG ability. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but I want my Monster Hunter to feel like Monster Hunter, you know? Which is why I'm a big fan of how Capcom has done it so far in the new world, integrating the cooler and more important Hunter Arts into base movesets for the weapons. But I also think that that is a mere stepping stone towards developing a more interesting future. What if we could choose the moveset of our weapon? What if there were Hunter Arts and Hunter Arts existed, but instead of being a slot on the hunter and a hunter use ability, what if it was a slot in the weapon itself, and it just inherently changes the moveset? Something like giving you a new combo finisher, like replace True Charge Slash for Greatsword with the Moonbreaker Hunter Art, for example, or even Brimstone Slash, Greatsword's version of a counter. Just have the ability to lightly augment the moveset in a number of predefined but impactful ways. Hell, even something like Absolute Evasion, the dodge roll Hunter Art that I talked about earlier, could instead be changed to affect every roll that you do, or maybe even just rolls while sheathed. Hell, you could even just have it mean that when you roll when unsheathed, you sheathe your weapon so that you can move around quicker. You auto-sheath it. With something like that, you could totally even integrate the more abstract ones into the game.
You piqued my interest.
But just imagine you're using Bow. In Monster Hunter Generations, Bow has a Hunter Art called Haste Rain, which fires an arrow above you that showers you down with a stimulant that increases your movement and charge speed. The equivalent to this could be replacing the barrel attack in World with this. Instead of firing up a barrel that drops KO balls, you instead now, because you've augmented your weapon with this Hunter Art, fire up a barrel that leaks this little buffing liquid onto yourself, which has the possibility of changing your entire playstyle while active. Equipping a Hunter Art in Iceborne, in my version of Iceborne, would see you replace and augment pre-existing attacks in your moveset, things that are already there. Just change them, make them activate through combos or through inputs that you would normally do, but have them still be impactful enough that you can legitimately feel your choice of Hunter Art affecting your hunt the entire time. So, do I think Hunter Arts should return to the series? Well, in a number of ways, they already are still here, but I would happily have more around, and implemented in a way that have a much greater effect on the game than they currently do, without taking you out of the immersive hunting experience. Almost a way to differentiate yourself from other users of the same weapon. Literally changing your base moveset to a degree could be an amazing experience. Imagine hunting with a squad full of greatswords, every person using using a greatsword. One of them is trying to counter the monster. They've got the counter Hunter art. One of you is trying to use true charge slashing, just sort of normal. One of you is doing the Moonbreaker combo instead of true charge because it's replaced it with your Hunter art, and one of you is crit draw greatsword with the auto sheath roll, which makes it even more powerful and actually affect damage. All 4 of you are using the same weapon, all 4 with a different gameplay loop, and as a result it becomes more interesting for every one of you involved. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Alright everyone, I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been my feelings and thoughts on the potential return of the Hunter art system. Do you think that Hunter art should return in the first place? How do you think we could effectively bring them back in the future? Like if you liked the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or report important news about the kingdom Animalia. Rage, Cotton, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear, so if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you.
No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.